All right, now we're going to move on to our sliding collar strangle section. Okay, this is one of my favorite techniques, and it's one of the most effective moves that we could possibly do with the gi. In my opinion, the absolute most effective. So just a basic precursor to what it looks like here. I have Alberto's back. And we're going to go in and we're going to strangle him rather, with this lapel. I'm trying to get rid of the chokes, guys, and replace everything with strangles. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab his lapel in such a way that the open face flap is not the thing that's coming across his neck. What I want to do is I want to pull down and I want to strangle him with just the collar from here, okay? And I'm going to use the blade like this as a knife that penetrates underneath his neck. This is going to be my strangle hand, the one that's around his neck, and the other one is going to be my support hand. I could have the support hand in many different places. One is the double lapel. I could move into the bow and arrow from here. I could move into wrist grabbing options. I could move into half Nelson options from here. I could move into scenarios where I use my foot on the other side to help me strangle him. And if things don't work out for me from here and he starts to maybe turtle or move away from me, I could use this same grip as a clock choke where I go around and I strangle him. Okay, so this is going to be our sliding collar strangle series, and this is one of the most effective techniques out there. Again, my child students beat full-grown adults with this one. It's one that you got to have in your arsenal, and you could use the gi and the lapel as a force multiplier to help you to submit much bigger, larger, stronger opponents. And this is, again, one of the highest percentage things out there.
Hello, everybody. I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you are counting all of your blessings and that you have a lot to be thankful for. My last video that I had posted here got some funny comments on it, to say the least. It got, over 2,000 to 3,000 more views on YouTube than it had before I had posted it. Got shared like about a dozen times at least, and has over 100 likes and many, many comments on the BJJ Fanatics page and on my YouTube channel. Some good, some not so good. Either way, I love you all. I just wanted to address some of those comments and I guess talk sense into the people of the internet, which is an impossible task. Okay, one of the comments here says that, not sure what you mean by seldom taught. It is in the 3 gyms I've ever trained at, and even the judo gym I was part of, the bow and arrow choke was always known as the staple gi submission. Yes, it is taught in other gyms. It's just not taught as much as it should be, in my opinion. As one of, if not the highest percentage submissions of all time in the gi, the schools that I have been to, it has not been taught so much. But of course, if it's up there with being one of, if not the number one submissions, of course it's taught, but I don't think that there's enough emphasis put on it. Another important point that I wanted to make was that the move a lot of times is taught as a singular move. I got a lot of comments saying that, oh yeah, this is a bow and arrow choke. And while the bow and arrow choke is a variation of the sliding collar series and an important variation, nonetheless, it is not the entire series. And I think that a lot of times it gets taught in this one-off kind of way where maybe 1 or 2 variations of this extremely powerful move, and you just don't get the full picture of the move. And I think that's a shame for it to be one of the best, if not the best submission out there that's used so often. I think you should have a full scope understanding of the advantages and the disadvantages to every single situation. And I don't believe that that is taught as much as it should be. What else do we got here? I also got a lot of people that were saying, how could this be the number one submission if it is gi dependent. I think it's important to make the distinction between Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the gi and submission grappling type kind of context. The Submission Land product that I made has all of the greatest submissions from all of the disciplines. So the rear naked choke or rear naked strangle is actually the first submission that I teach in that instructional because it is not gi dependent and that it is so often used in any place where submissions may lie. I got some other comments that say there's literally only 4 guys responsible for this IBJJF stat that he's referring to. Certainly more than these 4 guys have used this in competition, but they were saying that the majority of submissions that the majority of guys that have used the submission are Roger Gracie, Rodolfo, guys like Cobrinha, Rafa Mendes, and things like that. And I'd say that that's more of a positive than it is a negative. It is always important to see what the best guys are doing and to try to not necessarily imitate, but to see what the highest percentage options are, see what the all-time greatest submission hunters are doing, and to incorporate some of that into your own game. I got another couple comments that say I'm only trying to use the word strangle to sound like I'm an innovator or I'm like Danaher, and that's not true whatsoever. The truth is these choke holds that we do in jiu-jitsu are a strangle. A strangle refers to the constriction of the blood flow to the brain, and a choke is a constriction of the windpipe and ability to breathe air. So when we're dealing with moves that are extremely important, that are life and death, being very specific about the terminology we use, what is correct and what is incorrect, I think is important. And when I grew up in jiu-jitsu, I learned a lot of these names as chokes, but I am trying to change that in my own vernacular and use strangles because it is more accurate. Another example of this is a lot of times people use the term when applying joint locks that they're going to break the person's legs or to break their arms. And I believe making a distinction there is important as well, as there is a huge difference between an elbow dislocation, a shoulder dislocation, or tearing of the ligaments in the knee than the breaking of the humerus or the breaking of the femur bone or the breaking of the tibia and the fibia in the leg. The horrible leg breaks that you saw, for example, with Chris Weidman or Anderson Silva, those are real leg breaks, and it's important to differentiate that between torn ligaments and dislocated joints as well. So I think that that distinction is important to make. I got a bunch of other comments, some positive, some negative. But all in all, I really just wanted to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving from the bottom of my heart. And yes, am I trying to put out a compelling video that gets people to talking, that has a compelling, maybe even slightly controversial title to get you to click on it? Absolutely. And I hope this did spark some sort of debate and interest in this great technique. Anyway, I love you all so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.